Live action at Scuderia Silva. I'll show you how to do a few blueprint moves. Here's one of our pistons. I saved the best for last. And so what we're going to do is we're going to measure a couple things. I've got the compression ring installed in the cylinder, and I just take my piston. I use this upper ring land. I shove my piston in there, and that straightens the ring out, makes it nice and round in the hole. And I take my 14 thousandths feeler gauge, and I measure the end gap right there. Oh, look, perfect, there's 14. How did I know that? Okay, good. Now we've done that one. Pop the ring out of there. I've already measured the piston. And the way you measure the piston is, you put the piston in the hole with no rings on it. This is all our blueprinting. Now I wrote down 14 thousandths, and that's within spec. The spec's 12 to 15. So you put this in here, slide it in. I run it down about a half an inch. I've already done it. When it's down a half an inch, I run my feeler gauge in there, and whatever that comes out to, which was 11 thousandths, that's my gap. Okay? Great. Now we're going to take this back out. I want to show you that we have it's a weird piston in that it has one too many oil control ring. But that's the way they did it. Here's the lower oil control ring. I already stuffed that in there. I do it sideways like that. I already stuffed that in there, pushed it down with the piston, measured it. It's also the same as the compression rings. And the compression rings in here are all cast iron, which is another odd thing, because if you did that in an Italian car, you would break the top ring. So the next thing I did is I took the piston and I measured the side, what we call the landing clearance. And the landing clearance is the difference between the ring land here and the ring itself. So I put that in there. Do not drop the rings, this will break because it's cast iron. And I put that in there, and lo and behold, there you got them together. I already pre-measured it. It's exactly 2.5 thousandths. Okay, that's also within specifications. Now, I'm going to get ready to put the piston into the block. When I put the piston into the block, I'm going to soak it my royal purple here and get these lands completely sopping wet with oil when I actually put it in with the ring compressor. But what I'm going to do first is show you how to put the rings on. When you put the rings on, it's real simple. I'm going to set it down for the purposes of what we're doing. Make sure the shot over here. There we go. Okay. So this is called the piston ring expander. Phony little thing, but it works good. And so you put that on there like that, and you lock it into this little tooth there. And then when you push down, it opens up it expands the ring. Always put the lowest ring on first. And even though they tell you not to put it on, they tell you to always load the rings from the top, but because they're not used to a frickin' ring being below the wristband. That's a weird deal. So I'm going to put it on from the bottom anyway because it's a lot closer and I don't want to scratch anything. If I have that little tiny distance there, I'm a lot less likely to scratch anything. This lower oil control ring does not have an up or a down because it's unisex. So you just spread it like that, open it up, close it up, make sure you're in the gap, there you go. Okay, there's your lower one. Alright, the next one is very important. This is your real oil control ring in the actual spots that oil control rings go. Now this has a very interesting feature that I want you to get a good look at here. I can't see, looking over the camera, it's right here. See the different colors, red and green? They have those different colors so that when you install this, you do not have either side overlapped. If you have it overlapped, you will have ruined the ability of this ring to control anything, and you'll probably damage the land on the pistons. So not like this, not like that. When I get this over the top and over the bottom, I'm going to check and make sure that I see green and red just like that, and that they're end to end. All right? So let's do that. I'm going to rotate, these rings all go in different rotations too, but I'm going to rotate them into their spot later. The main thing is to keep the compression rings rotated around off each other so that the gaps don't end up in the same spot. And then I set the oil control rings 90 degrees to the wrist pin. So the oil control ring, I'll have one gap here, and I'll have, these don't really, they have two gaps. It's a weird ring, it doesn't matter as much, but I'll put this gap here over on this other side. So, first thing to do, we've got our little green and red going there. I don't use an expander on this one, although I guess I could. I probably could. Anyway, I want the rings, the gap here, to not line up with that, so I'm going to put a third over here and a third over here. So the way I do that, without scratching these sides, so I just go down to the top of the first ring land, and I make sure I'm lined up, which I am, and I twist it around like this, and then as I get down here, I lift this sharp edge away. Do not scratch the ring land or the side of the ring. Okay, and that gets that into that hole like that. Alright, now you can see that we're good here, I hope. So, what are we going to do now? We're going to check and make sure, yep, we're still green and red right there. Okay, and then you push this around. No, actually we're not. You can see that the reds overlap the green, and that's why they have this. So, I'm just going to push this back a little bit. I can hold that. Okay, there she went. Okay, now we got it back where we want it. There's green and red, and you can see it feels good. When I pushed on it, it didn't feel good, and that's because it was overlapped like that. So now we've got this one over here. Turn that back to where I'm going to leave it on the side there. I've got this one positioned over here. So this one I'm going to put on over here. So notice I did the top first. You don't need to jump down to the bottom, you just skip over that one. So pick your spot over here, go down to the bottom land, there, start going around, get it in that groove, round and round she goes. And as she's coming down here, lift it away. Don't bend it, don't break it, hold on to it, hold on to it, hold on to it. Jump it over that last one. And we're in. Now that one's a little close to my wheel over here, so I'll shove that around. I keep forgetting I'm in the tight shot. I'll move this around here. That lower land moved. There we go. Hold the main spring. Okay, we shoved that around there. Alright, there we go. Now, okay, we've done that. Take your lower compression ring. These rings are all identical. In other words, they all have one chamfer. They all have a little chamfer in there. You won't be able to see, but there's a chamfer. They're all the same. They have a little word top right there. Put it in the ring expander. You got the word top I'm looking at right there. Expand it out, out, and then just set it gently into that third land. And that one's in, and almost squeeze them together, make sure they feel good. Okay? So, you put the other two on here and you're done. Now I'm going to take all that apart. I'm going to use this old school piston ring compressor, open it up, set it over the piston. I'm going to compress this whole thing, and then I'll probably put the connecting rod back on first, and then we'll run her home. Alright, so let's push that piston in there. Let's go a little wider than that. There we go. Okay. So we've got it in the piston compressor, spring compressor. And what I do is you want to hold this up here tight. And I go around this ring compressor. Make sure you got the front, the piston says front, that's the front, make sure that's lined up. I go around here and tap this real good and make sure that's nice and down on the block. Make sure that my connecting rod cap's not going to hit anything in here, which it's now not. And I hold the hammer like this so I don't lose my grip and slide down this because it's so greasy. And that does it. She's in the hole. Now we're gonna take your handy hammer once again with the end, and I'm gonna grab the connecting rod and just help it guide it in there so that I don't scratch that crankshaft. I don't want to touch the crank with anything except that bearing piece. So okay, that's now home. There's our bearing cap ready to go. There's our piece of plastic gauge on there, and there we go. Offer that up there like that. Okay, now that I've got that tied on there, you got to hold that. Run your rod bolts in. There's no Loctite this time, and remember there's no oil on the bearings when we're working with plastic gauge. So run that up there, and then I'm going to torque this bearing in place. I'm going to take it back apart. We're going to measure our plastic gauge. Don't let that bearing cap fall. Now I've got the bolt up there. Remember, it's also critical, don't turn the crankshaft at all, or you'll get an F in the class. So I'll put this other bolt in, torque it down, take it back apart, check it. All the rest of them have been perfect at about 1.5 to 2 thousandths oil clearance, which is right on the money. Remember that we put it together dry. We put the plastic gauge in there. I hope you can see it. So what we want to do is compare the width. I hope you can see the plastic gauge. The angle's right there. Anyway, if we compare it, what we find is it matches that 1.5 thousandths right there. That's perfect. That's exactly what we want. So I'll clean this off. We'll bolt our cap on. Take this rod and push it back now, carefully. Move the piston down the hole. I just take some of the ultra slick on my finger. Remember, you don't need a lot. Let's use it sparingly. And we'll just lube that up here. I'll get it on the end caps. Okay. I'm going to take some engine oil, my assembly oil, get that on there too. I'm going to pull that back forward. Okay. Don't worry about your tangs. The tang's over here, so this tang's got to match up with it. Don't get it on here or here. Okay, we're ready to go. Offer that rod cap up. There it goes, that feels good. rod bolt and your little lock tab. Make sure that goes in nice and slow. Wait. Hey, hold the phone, son. Don't forget your red Loctite like you almost did. Just a little titch. Hit the bolt. Okay, so I'm going to run that down, torque this, backswing. Okay, so now we've got the cap put on there. I'm going to do the torque now. And what you're going to do on the torque wrench is push down steady until it clicks once. Hensely. Okay, that's it. Do not bounce on the torque wrench. That gives you improper torque readings. Push down steady and solidly, and when it does that, you're done. Okay, now you take your wrench and just go ahead and make sure that the assembly rotates nice and smooth, and it does. And I just go around one time. Put TDC on number 1. It's about something like, nope, not there, back a little bit. So don't spin it and spin it and spin it. Just go ahead and make sure it goes around once. You don't want to burn up all your lubricant when you're trying to have it in there for the startup. There's TDC right there. I can feel the top of the piston. Okay, we're dead. Let's throw it up on the engine stand. What I've done is I've gone through and bent over all the lock tabs. As you saw, we used Loctite on the bolt, on the rod bolt, so I was doing that anyway, but bend over the lock tabs. I used a pair of pliers on the ones I can't reach on this MGB, and gently use a full kind of a one-stroke motion to get that crushed down. Don't make any slivers. Don't chunk off pieces of steel onto your engine, because that would be bad. And then on the ones I can reach, I use a machinist hammer, my grandpa's, which I'll never paint or restore, and a snap-on flat. And then on some of them, to get them to lift up a little bit, I'll put that underneath the lip a little bit, and even though it's sharp, you're not beating the hell out of it. You're just going to strike it so it moves up a little bit. This longer edge is a little more effective than this other flat sometimes. So we've done that. Now we're going to take a quick run around the thing. There's the oil pump set up right here, right there. We've got the camshaft installed. That's nice and clean. Oh, it looks like it was just freshly cleaned a minute ago, and which it was. And so we're going to put our distributor drive in here after I hook the camshaft to the crankshaft. We're going to go ahead and set up our rear joints back here. Now this is how the British do it. It's with this phony felt deal, and there's no rear main seal. This is just the back of the housing right here, and so it's just, it couldn't be more phony. Sorry, there we go. This is how the Brits do it. It couldn't be more phony, and we're going to use silicone and carve that thing up and get it straightened out. It's still, we'll make it so it doesn't leak back through here by using some of our silicone gasket material and kind of carve this thing up. Let's see what else we're going to do. We're going to put the oil pan on. We've got the same phony setup here in the top. There's another gasket for that. We'll install the shims and the keyway keys, and then we'll put on the crankshaft timing cog and the oil slinger, and I think that's all that goes on before the before we put on the timing chest cover. I'm going to put the timing chain on obviously before all that happens. Set the gear up on the cam, And it's just got a lock plate. This is all real simple stuff. Read your book, do a little homework. I just put a little tiny bit of my 3H Permatex Aviation on there. Just a little tiny bit. Okay, now, we've already cleaned up the oil pump. We've already taken it apart and checked it out. And so, we blueprinted it. We checked the rotors, between the rotors. We checked the rotor to the case, and then I checked the inflow. They all came out perfect. So I'll run those down, go and torque them down. I think it's about 14 foot-pounds or something probably. I love the new snap-on. I don't know if they're new to me. Now they come with these knurled sides on, which is great. Alright, so we got that tweaked down. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten that up. All right. These are the shims that came out of the engine. There were 3. I had to put it back together with 3, and then we're going to check and make sure the timing gear's in alignment, but that goes back there. I already lubed them up. They're ready to rock. I'm going to take Roger Fennell's grandpa's hammer. He was kind enough to give it to me. Machinist hammer, beautiful. It's seen a lot of use over the years. So that's one of my favorite tools too. I got hammers from my grandpa, hammers from his grandpa. Just ease those in there. You just want to make sure when you put them in that they're exactly level. A little on there to, I'm not really juicing it up, but we want it to slide nicely. Get out oil all over those wedge of keys, just a little bit, and then the inside of the crankshaft gear. Okay, so take that. I like to take this. And beat it down there. I like to take another one. It's going to turn up my handle. I don't like that either. Go ahead and just, we'll use drift on it now. Just don't like that much. Get a little more action on it. We're not going to use a brass hammer around any of the engine normally because we don't want any little brass chips coming off. But there we go, you can hear the sound of the seats. Now we're going to put the oil slinger on. This is the factory oil slinger. This is the phony re-kick that somebody thought was a good idea. I don't know what's exactly at, but that's garbage. Just throw that in the recycle bin. Clank. And now that goes on this way. I think it goes on that way. Yeah, it goes on that way. Okay. There we go. Now the next thing that's going to go on here will just be the there's a washer that goes behind here. We won't forget it. That'll be later. Okay. All right. Now let's rock the boat. There we go. Okay. Now I've taken the time to peen these over. I think I already told you that. I did tell you that. We'll move on. I don't have a big mark, like a yellow mark or something, because it's not that critical, but we have this big dot here. And I don't know if you can see the big dot. Okay. That big dot's also on the crankshaft here. So what we'll do is run our crank around. Now there's piston number 1 coming to TDC. If you go real slow, real slow, you can feel it's coming out, it comes out, and then it stops for a second before it starts to go back down. That'll get us real close, and here's our mark right there. I'm not going to put any phony ass paint on it or anything like that. Okay. Now we're ready for some live action. Once you get the guts in these things, you know, you get the crank in, get all your measurements done, get all the blueprinting done, the assembly of all the outer periphery really moves along quite quickly. Piston goes in first, and then the spring, and then the cap. And if somebody wanted to jack up the oil pressure, which there's no real reason to do that on these, but you put little springs right behind here that are that size in the back of that cap, thereby putting more pressure in the spring. But these things run good enough oil pressure that if you have a new pump like we have and you blueprinted it like we have, there's really no real reason to mess with that. Yeah, gone, really. It's arguing with me a little bit. I got the heavy duty oil spring so that we have more tension anyway. We don't want too much oil pressure, but we'd like a little more than enough if you have an opportunity. Okay, we got that started. Oh, shoot. Put that baby down. And I'm going to torque it till it's tight. It's got a copper gasket under it. I don't know what the torque is, but you're probably 30 or something. Oh. Maybe 45. It'll crush that gasket, that copper. Now keep in mind on this one, we took out the 2 phony fiber washers under here that always leak. Constant drip, you think it's your main, it's not. It's this right here. So that's why we use a copper gasket here. That's one of the tricks of an MG engine that we're going to use today. Now let's, oh my goodness. Either I'm getting tired or this thing is getting heavier. Must be me. I think I'm going to conk out of here. It's almost 2. Okay, so that's what we're going to do about the engine oil filter, we're going to buy an adapter so that we have a spin-on oil filter instead of that phony Tacklemet or whatever the hell that thing is, filter. And we could, let's see, we'll get set up here. Come over a little bit more. There we go. Now we can see the other stuff that's going on. Keep your tray under the pan. We're using a lot of oil everywhere, and you're going to invariably leak it out, but that's okay. That is part of the process. And so I'm going to get these accessories set up over here. And we'll go ahead and put those on here. All right. Bam. It's coming right along. We'll get those other things lined up. Be right back. All right, what about burnt biscuit? This is the dipstick tube. It's got little slots in it right here. Little ultra black. That's all you need. Twiddle that down there. Little tweaks more. Okay, now she's seated, and that's the only thing I have that's narrow enough for that. I'm just going to give her a little more than nothing, just like that. Okay. Now, let's take our, oh shoot. Oh, my camera again. I'll stop. And what we're going to do here is, this is going to be the oil supply setup that it's going to go to our oil cooler. So, Austin-Healey copper fits perfect on that little baby. That goes right here. Look in there, there's nothing going on, it's just oil passage. Get that squeezed down like that. And then go ahead and we're going to bust that one on here too. Funny. Okay. Puts a little, we just want to put a little crimp onto that. And the whole deal of bolts here, all that's getting replaced. And what I'm going to do now, look over here. These things here are what we're working on. So I got the tool tray lined up. Got the cam stuff lined up. Got the timing washer, crank gasket. And then we'll offer up the that little oil hose. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn number one pistons at TDC. So I'm going to put my dial indicator right here on the edge of the piston. I'm going to turn on my fancy little switch here to magnetize the thing so it's sitting on the block. You can see it's got a nice latch on there. Now, you don't really need to zero it like this. You could, you don't need to. But what we're going to do is we're going to turn this. I want to set this gear setup up right here. So I'm going to take this right now, and we're going to go backwards. So now that piston's going down in the hole. See? Now what we're going to do is we're going to go just past TDC. And you'll see that the needle Not right now, but soon. It's going to stop and it's going to go backwards. There we go. Okay, so that's TDC right there. It doesn't matter that we zero it or don't. Oh, shit. Zero it or don't zero it. So, flick your ratchet handle back over and go back down. Okay, we're going down, down, down. Now go back up. And when it stops, okay, right there, it just turned around. See that? And now it's coming back down. Okay, so I'm going to put it on TDC. Right where it turns around. Right about there. It's exactly right there. It's at, I think it's on 0 right there. There you go. So we can check our work real quick. Here it's going back down. Now we're going up, up, up. I think that's 0. And then it's going back down. See, that is 0. So that's how you use a dial indicator. They're very expensive if you use the scientific ones. You don't need the scientific one. So now that I have this at 0, I'm going to take this nut back off, and which will throw it off 0, but then I can hand rotate it back to 0, and then I'm going to put the chain on. And don't buy, I think this was one of our favorite freight companies, was maybe, I don't know, $15 for the gauge itself, and maybe another, I don't know, a little bit for that magnetic base. But it's very useful, and you have to have it if you're going to rebuild engines. Crankshaft on TDC. I spun the main bolt out. Just took my hand and reset it to TDC there. There's a timing mark down here. Here's our cam plate. Copper side, steel side. 3 bolts. I'm going to put this thrust plate on right now. Okay, now we've got our thrust plate put on. Torque that to about, those are, I think, a 1/4 inch bolt. Yeah, they're 1/4 inch. So put those at like maybe 10 or 12 pounds or something like that. Just get it snug. You're using a lock nut, or I'm sorry, lock washer, so you're going to be all right. Third time we chain assembly. Cam gear, don't worry about oil right now. Get the, I'm going to have to work with this a little bit. Alright, see the timing marks? Notice how they're perfectly lined up. It's hard to tell from here, but they're absolutely perfect. And so now that I have it perfect, and I slid the crankshaft, doggone voice, sorry. I slid the crank wheel just a little bit loose, and then I get this on here, and I'm going to hold, there's no back hitch in place, so I can push on the camshaft in the back, so I'm just going to beat that in there. That's seated, and that's not quite seated, but it's almost seated. Our lines are still perfect. We're still on 0. So there's our marks. Now we've shot that thing back where it goes. I'm going to put that bolt and washer on there, and then we'll offer up the tensioner, but see, we're still on TDC. That's the whole point of the exercise. So keep it on TDC. The little tab here that hangs out goes toward the it goes inside the keyway. For the lock. And And then the nut's going to go on. And guess what? You got it. Loctite, my friends. Hole number 271. Our best friend over here. They don't call it 271 anymore. This is, yeah, that's what it is. I'm sorry, put a little bit on the threads there. Can't see me doing that anyway. Just a touch. There we go. Okay. Let's go over this little thing right here. We've got a couple long, doggone it. We've got a couple long bolts. There, no, jeez Louise. Nice, okay. Cut that out, Chris. Cut out me dropping the damn thing on the floor. Alright. Trying to get out of here for sturgeon fishing. Okay. So we have a gasket, we have our blanking plate, the base, the lock plate. Oh, shoot. Okay. Let's do it again. I don't know if I'm going to shot or not. Okay, we have the gasket, the spacer plate, a couple bolts, the main block, the tensioner rub assembly that goes against the chain, a couple lock bolts, or lock washers, I'm sorry, and then there's actually a lock nut on that too. Yeah. Now we've got a gasket. We've got the tensioner rubber with the adjuster pulled all the way back and twisted closed. That'll take a little Allen wrench to get that to open up after we tighten down. This adjuster has a back plate, and then you got a little lock tab set, and then you got the nice little block that's the actual tensioner itself, Olan or somebody. So Olan's real excited. He's got a registered trademark there. I'm excited for him. And we're going to put this in here. Gosh. Okay. Make sure that we don't get this in the wrong position. Okay. There we go. Just like that. We offer this up to Olaf. Back it out just a little bit. And you still have to keep everything clean, lined up here, but I'm gonna raise that one up and see what's right there. And then I line the gasket back up once again. Oh, Scheissel. I can tell you that gasket's not in the right spot. It fell down. Okay. What we'll do alternately is line up the gasket beautifully here. Get the hole started on this side. More than one way to skin a cat. Go ahead and turn that down a little bit and get that started. We'll take this bolt back out. Okay. There we go. Then we're going to pull there. Oh, shoot. Okay. I'm going to get a lot of different stuff going on. Pull that out a little bit. Pull that out a little bit. Okay, pull that plate a little bit away. And then we're going to push that gasket over. But we also have to pull that out enough. There we go. That I can get that gasket to go where it goes, which is in here. Come here, gasket, mister. this gasket maker, come on. There we go. Okay. Fall down a little bit too far the other way. There we are. Perfect. Okay. Now we're locked on. Alright. Yes. Okay. So I've torqued the cam nut here. We've got our engine at 0 when the piston's at TDC. We don't have to check it again because we already did. I rotated it down a little bit and for demonstration. Got our gasket in there, our spacer plate, our tensioner, and then we're going to tighten this down and then put our little adjuster through the hole here and see how that moves that. Okay. I'm going to put it in there and twist it, and that's going to unlock this the ability for this to have spring pressure. And when it builds up oil pressure back here, it's going to shove this and make the timing chain have the perfect factory specifications. And I'm going to take this little phony nut and lock washer thing here with my meat paws. I'm going to put that in that plug right there. And I've already torqued the camshaft. So I've got everything's lined up there. I put a straight edge across the gears here to make sure that the chain's running straight. It is running straight. And so we're all set. Remember that little screw that's right in here. Take that right there. You can see that pushes this out. Okay, we're going to twist that and release. There we go. Okay, now I hope you can see that there's a space there now because I've released the tensioner inside. I'm going to beat these ears over. I'm going to beat this ear over here. I already torqued that. I did about 20 pounds.